Bytes and Bytes podcast. I'm your host, Kristin Demoranville. This episode is all about hiring, and more specifically, how we find the right people to protect the systems that keep things moving in our modern world. That includes the food we grow, the products we process, and the infrastructure that holds it all together. We're talking about operational technology, or OT. If that's not a term you use every day, here's the simplest way to think about it. OT is a technology that runs machines in the physical world. It opens valves, keeps the lights on, moves conveyor belts, cools food, and makes sure water flows when and where it should. It's not your laptop or your email. It's the technology that makes modern life work. And when it comes to OT, hiring the right people is everything. Because if the wrong person is in the wrong role, the risk isn't just downtime, it's real-world consequences. In sectors like food and agriculture, that can mean safety issues, broken supply chains, and serious impacts on communities we serve. Let's get into it.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited because this has been like a conversation we've had for a bit. We're going to be talking a little bit more about recruiting in this episode, and I'm going to let our guests talk about their favorite food and favorite food memory first, and then we'll go into introductions per usual. So go for it.
Nice. So favorite food is a difficult one because I like nearly all food, but I'd say Spanish small plates.
Tapas?
Yeah, tapas. That's what you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tapas, yeah. So tapas is definitely the one for me. But I know that it's not really a specific food. It's more a way of, serving
preparing food.
Yeah, exactly.
So what?
Yeah, that's number one. And do you know what? I'm sad tapas isn't really a thing in Austin. I haven't seen much, and maybe I haven't sought it out specifically, but I'd definitely like to be in some tapas right now.
Well, if any of the listeners know of any good tapas places in Austin, make sure you
hit me up.
Shout out your friend.
Absolutely. I mean, I forgot that it was called tapas because I haven't had it for so long. So I've definitely got a tapas craving right now.
Well, I know plenty of good tapas places that are not in Austin. So whenever you travel out, we'll make sure you get taken care of.
Just send them over. I'll do a trip specifically for the tapas.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And do you have a favorite food memory? Does it involve tapas or is it something else?
Yeah, so I was in Madrid, I think it was last year. And I mean, that place is underrated. Everyone talks about Barcelona. Barcelona's great. It's got a beach. We get it. But Madrid is incredible for food. They've got this market, open air market, the best oysters that you're going to have ever. And there was also a restaurant called La Concha that just did like tapas, small plates. It was strange food, right? It was stuff that you're like, I don't know what part of an animal this is from, but it was phenomenal. And it was like underrated, underappreciated, like super low key, not flashy or shiny, just incredible food. So that's where the food memory comes from.
See, I think that's the best. It's the atmosphere, how you felt when you were there. To me, that's the more of the food memory moments. You just made me think of Japan and a few experiences I had there that were very similar, where you were questioning what you were eating, but everything was amazing. You need to go. We talked about this offline.
So long.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me too, but that's okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. So I'm Nathaniel. I'm a co-founder of a business called SR2, Socially Responsible Recruitment. We're a B Corp certified technology recruitment firm, established for about 7 years. And I guess I am fully immersed in the world of OT, ICS, cybersecurity. I've been recruiting in this space for a while now, and I support companies, consultancies, MSPs, vendors, asset owners in strengthening their OT cybersecurity teams. And I guess what I like to think makes me a little bit different from like other recruiters in this space. There aren't that many OT recruiters in this world, so kind of one of a few. But this isn't a means to an end for me. It kind of goes further than that. Like if I just wanted to play the transactional game and put bums on seats, there are a ton of other spaces I could be in, AI being one of them. But I've kind of fallen in love with OT, ICS. I love the community, and I also feel... So someone said to me, it was an OT engineer in the energy space. He said, I feel like I'm doing a public service for my company, for my country. And I was like, that's such a good way of looking at OT. Like, if I really do feel that is the case, because if Austin Energy or some like these big transmission or energy companies get hacked and they shut down energy in a city or in a state, like we're in trouble. Like hospitals will lose power and like critical infrastructure will lose power, and it will cause widespread panic and chaos, pandemonium. So like I can't say that I'm quite at the tip of the spear like you guys who are actually doing OT are, but I'm in there. I'm like, when companies are struggling to hire the right talent and I'm putting the right people in those positions, I do feel like I'm contributing somewhat to this ecosystem, and that makes me very happy. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about my focus on OT. I'm happy to kind of lift the lid on that and go a little bit deeper.
Well, I think we should track back just a little bit, because You're talking about Austin, but your accent doesn't reflect Austin. So people probably want to know how you got from here to there.
No, I'm from Austin. I'm born and bred. Been here for 38 years. No, I'm from a little island called the United Kingdom, a couple of islands. And I'm from Bristol, which is on the west coast. We speak like farmers. If you need a barometer of UK accents.
I'm sorry for all the farmers that might be listening. He's not trying to be a jerk. He's actually means that with love.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of a farmer twang. And because the West Country is kind of beautiful, green, or at least it was. So yeah, from the UK, I moved to the US about 10 months ago. But I've been working in the US for about 2.5 years. Been operating here for about 2.5 years. I was doing late nights out of the UK, working in the US market. Easily the worst 2 years of my life. But anyway, let's not dwell on that. I'm here now, and that's the main thing.
Yes, it's great. Thank you for that, because I just didn't want everybody to be confused that Austin had a British accent. That would be very strange. So.
Let's take a quick break. I want to thank you for listening to this episode. If it is hitting home, please like, share, leave a comment, and send it to someone in your network who might enjoy it. These conversations don't get enough attention that they deserve, and you can help change that. Also, if you want a bit more context, behind the scenes thoughts, and slightly unhinged extras, check out the podcast Substack. Link is in the show notes. Also, just a reminder, I am writing a book. It's called Securing What Feeds Us, and it's coming out in autumn of 2026. You can sign up for updates and some fun surprises at the link in the show notes. I'm also sharing my writing journey, thoughts on cybersecurity, OT, food and agriculture, and the occasional rant over on my personal Substack. That also is in the show notes. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
That's great. I do think that you're part of the OT community. I don't think you sit on the peripheral. I think that you're in it because you're helping to move the pieces around and get people to where they need to be and better suited for their roles. So I completely consider you part of the community. I think the community considers you part of the community.
Thank you.
I saw zero weirdness when we were at, all the OTICS conferences this past year. So I think you're part of it. If anything, you probably have a more interesting perspective because you see a little bit of everything, right? It's because you got different sectors and different regions, and you kind of see people in a different way, whether it's federal or private and all kinds of other things. Also, you probably get an interesting perspective as well because the different countries interacting with different aspects of OT. I know we're very close with our Canadian colleagues. So that also, I always find that adds to my knowledge set big time because of the way that they're trying to do things and how we're trying to do things. Because there's no borders for us. We don't look at it like that in OT, for sure. And I like that person's quote. I always say it's not about the data, it's about safeguarding lives. I probably should put that on a t-shirt at some point or trademark it, but it's true. It's true. That's what we do. And it's such a joy to be in this industry. And I love that I serve food and ag. I think that for me, I keep people fed and safe and thriving, and it feels good. And I know the people in oil and gas feel the same way about that. And it's great. So it's awesome. Yeah. So why don't we talk a little bit about what it's like to be a recruiter in the OT space? Because I know a lot of people listening here are OT, and I know a lot of people are in critical infrastructure. That includes all the food and agricultural people that are listening. You are critical infrastructure. Let's talk about that. Like, what kind of person are you looking for in this industry in general? Yeah,
good question. Look, it's not really like one type of person. One thing that I learned quite early on about OT is how broad it is it's a niche, but it's still a big surface area, and there's lots of different skill sets within this space. So I could be looking for like an OT threat hunter one day. I could be looking for kind of OT consultant working for one of the big consultancies the next, right down to right down to kind of roles that touch IT, OT, and then have like a kind of a foot on either side of the fence. So it really is broad. In terms of like I don't want to say like the best people I've placed, but like the people that tend to get like the best response from my clients are those people who have done the shop floor, who've kind of, they've interacted with control systems, like in a shop floor environment. They've worn steel toe cap boots and when Nomex suits and hard hats, and they've seen it. They've seen it in real life. They know what it's like from a tangible perspective, and then they've progressed into cybersecurity. So it could be like a controls engineer or automations engineer, and they've progressed into OT cybersecurity. Like that tends to be the people that get the best reception. That said, like it doesn't mean that if you've come from like if your route to OT is different, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Like there's a ton of people who could do OT. I think there's a ton of people that want to do OT, and I think we do need to keep the bar high for obvious reasons, because there's big differences between the IT folk and OT folk. But yeah, there's lots of routes in the OT ecosystem that people can explore if they're trying to get in. Hopefully that answers your question. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, no, you did great. That's actually, and you were making me think that it comes down to trust a lot. You can't have an OT individual go into a production area, regardless of what industry it is, without knowing how to be in that production area. That's something you can teach and train, of course, absolutely. But if you're hiring someone for a specific role or a senior type role, they need to know how to be. And I often say that, especially with the newcomers that are coming in. First time I said, you need to go on some factory tours. You need to start to understand how things work, how the yellow line is, don't get off it kind of thing. And wear your PPE, whether that's a hairnet or steel toe boots or whatever has to happen. There's something about being in an industrial environment or on a factory floor that sort of feels, and I know a lot of the OT people are going to be like, yeah, in a second when I say it, but it sort of feels like, coming home in a way. It's like a big community of people and everybody's got a different role, and somehow it all just seems to work. And it's kind of magical in that regard. But the fact that you get to sort of be part of the ecosystem, but also one of the most important parts of it is really, I think it's an honor to be able to do that. And I think that's the difference between like certain types of roles inside these environments is how people are perceiving it. So if someone has that type of mentality up front, you could train the floor easily at that point. But I think it's the willingness to be part of a community that's so crucial for that. Because you can't just walk in and be like, I know what I'm doing. I'm the best. You're doing stuff wrong. Like that's, you're going to get kicked out. Trust me. It's 100% a kick out moment.
I agree with you. I think like and one of the things, because I've been on both sides of the fence, I've recruited for 14 years and I've recruited in IT and now OT and the IT for the majority of it. And I feel like, and I'm not bad mouthing, but you do get more, I feel like in OT there's a willingness to work together. There's a willingness not to stamp your feet, right? Yes. Whereas in IT, it feels like some people want to come in and do right. We're doing it this way. I'm going to stamp my feet. It's my way or the highway. You're a little bit like in OT, you do that, you break something, the whole thing shuts down. Do you know what I mean? You just can't do that. And maybe that's why OT is the way it is and why it's not going to work for everyone who's come from like an IT background. But the ecosystem is just awesome. Like it just super welcoming. There aren't that many assholes. I mean, there may be a couple, but hey, you can't be perfect.
That's for a different episode.
Exactly.
I think you made me think about it a lot because I try to compare and contrast a lot when it comes to different sectors, especially since I'm in food and ag. And there's an inherent distrust nature to agriculture. And that's not a negative thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Yeah. Just farmers like to stay to their own communities because they trust that community and they get help from that community and they also help in that community. The OT community feels like that to me. We generally distrust everything on the outside, but we're going to welcome you in anyways and try to work with it. And I do think that is why we're uniquely suited for critical infrastructure, because we have to sort of distrust things, but also be welcome to different ideas because we're system thinkers and understand that everything is in a sphere. And if you mess up something on one side, the other side's going to get banged up as well. And we also know that you could sneeze 10 miles away from a facility and production will shut down. So, the running joke is you could trip over the sidewalk or the pavement somewhere else in another country and it cuts your production off. It's like a running joke, like all these little jokes that we have, so many different subtle nuances, and you have to be open and adaptable and ready to be flexible when something weird happens. We've all had weird things happen, and stuff that just makes us laugh now, but at the time it was horrible. You know what I mean? Or trying to understand why a user would do that caused that to cause this to potentially hurt somebody, by accident, of course, or even intentionally for that matter. And it's so fascinating that you say that, because it made me think of it immediately.
Hi, we're Anns and Sage. And if you're in food production, agriculture, and even running a zoo or an aquarium, we need to talk. Because let's be honest, your operation relies on a lot more technology than most people realize. Grain dryers, hatchery controls, life support systems for animal habitats, all connected, all critical, all often overlooked when it comes to cybersecurity. That's where we come in. At Anns and Sage, we help industries that grow, feed, and inspire the world manage cybersecurity and operational risks. Without the fear tactics, the fluff, or the 200-page audit you'll never read. Whether you're producing milk, processing seafood, or running life support systems, we focus on what matters. Keeping your operations safe, your people protected, and your business running, even when things go sideways. And hey, we know not everyone on your team speaks cyber. And because not everyone on your team speaks cyber, we've created a free resource library at annsandsage.com. Inside, you'll find sector-specific infographics built for teams in agriculture, seafood, zoos, and aquariums. They're clear, practical, a little witty, and designed to help frontline teams understand the risks without needing a translator. No logins, no email required, no catch, just usable tools that make cybersecurity stick. If you're responsible for keeping food moving, animals safe, and systems online, Anns and Sage is your partner in real-world resilience. Visit annsandsage.com to download your free infographics, book a consult, or just learn more about how we're helping critical infrastructures secure what matters most. Anns and Sage, helping the industries that grow, feed, and inspire the world manage cybersecurity and operational risks.
I've always felt like factories were full of aunts and uncles, and you got to earn your right in, and you get hazed a little bit, but it's all in good fun. It's like family vibes, right? You get picked on a little bit. Even to this day, I haven't seen some of them in 10 years, and I know I could call them up and it'd be like old times. And I know everyone in OT has got a story like that. And that's hard to hire for, right? That's got to be hard to hire for.
Yeah, it can be. I think there's some myths in OT around kind of supply and demand, I would say, and there's a lot of stuff that gets put out there around the talent shortage, and I don't know whether it's like strictly speaking true. Like there's a lot of articles out there that cite this great cybersecurity shortage and great OT cybersecurity shortage. And I'm like, there is, but then there's also problems with the recruitment market. And the way companies go about hiring. And I think most of it actually boils down to that opposed to there being a actual shortage of candidates out there. I think there's lots of talent out there in OT, but companies aren't doing the right things to kind of get in front of those people. And then on the candidate side, sometimes the candidates are doing the obvious stuff, but then that's it, and they're not getting in front of the clients. So there's just like this disconnect. And then there's also other factors, like some of the bigger companies have recruitment processes that are archaic.
Absurd. They're absurd.
Yeah, exactly. And you're ruling good people out like immediately, because good people won't go through your crazy process, and you're like, well, why are you doing this? You're making life difficult for yourselves. There's one company in particular, right? And I won't name any names naturally, but there's one company in particular, and I've been working with them for a little while, and the candidates that I'm sending to them, so they've got a bunch of open recs, and the candidates I'm sending to them are candidates that are in their system. They don't know that they're in their system, and it blows my mind. And that's just an example of it being disjointed. And there are a dozen other examples of the recruitment process being disjointed and it's causing issues. And then you throw in AI and the impact that AI's had on the recruitment processes, and candidates being ruled out because they don't have the right keywords in their resumes. It's chaos out here. I understand from a job seeker perspective. I understand how frustrating it must be. Like, you apply for dozens of roles and you don't hear back, and we need to do better. Ultimately,
yeah,
we need to do better. There's so much to unpick, but yeah, we need to do better. I know we're going off on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, it's definitely...
No, you haven't. I mean, you definitely have a Sleaford's Mod song stuck in my head now called Job Seeker. So anybody who wants to look that up, go for it, because that's exactly what I was thinking. Even though it applies to the UK, it's still very relevant to everybody else. But it's true. And also the mental health toll. I have so many friends that are out of work right now for whatever reason. And the mental load of having to apply for jobs full time, to be rejected consistently, to being ghosted. The ghosting is the worst of it. There's no transparency in it. And this is why I resonate with what you're doing, is because you're very transparent. You tell people up front, like, hey, this is what the process is going to look like. And whatever, you're not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to be real about it. And I think people need that. And especially in the OT space, we don't have time for fake sugarcoated anything. And also our skill sets are so needed. The shortage for us is just, we don't have enough experts to go around in the regard of longevity of time and sector specific knowledge. There's very few of us that are doing certain things, and we can only stretch so far, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And then you've got, like, honestly, I say flippantly that there isn't a massive shortage. There's a shortage because companies need, like you say, specific skill sets, specific domain knowledge. Could be NERC, could be something else. And then they need the person in a certain location. They need to be able to travel a certain amount. So as soon as you add a couple of these confines and the salary, it does whittle the pool down quite significantly, and they're left with a smaller talent pool. But there's still a disconnect in terms of, like, once you know what that talent pool, who that talent pool is, and they're within those confines, companies still aren't reaching them.
Yeah.
That's why I've got a job, because I can connect the two, but I still feel like in terms of, like, the wider ecosystem, I want to see it improve. Obviously, it might impact on my success, but just for the success of the OT-ICS ecosystem, and to make sure that we are getting the right people in the right places so we can protect our critical infrastructure. I think, as I say, we need to do better.
I think companies need to be able to express what they need better. I know I talk to a lot of different companies, and they know that they need an OT person, but what they have is working for them. So they're a little nervous about, like, I don't know, rocking the boat, if you will. Or they are describing roles to me in other places. I'm like, well, that's OT. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, there needs to be, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, and I'm sure I'm going to get a little backlash for this, but we almost need standards in the way that we communicate jobs within critical infrastructure. And I realize in some ways we have that, but we also have it on a community side within our community and not, like, on the outside, because I don't know how many times I have to explain what OT is to people or what ICS is. And I have to give examples, otherwise they won't know. So I'll be like, okay, I'll look around where I am in a room and I'll be like, okay, see the elevator? That's OT. And they're like, oh, and then they start, like, you can see the wheels turning, and then lots of other things come out, and you're like, okay, great, you got it. Great. Now you're never going to not see it. Have a nice day. And it's hard that we don't realize how our modern world works, and even our companies, like that really, like, that blows my mind a lot. But then again, we don't need to know what it is. It just works. Like, we walk in, we flip a light, and yay, it's hooray. Or we go to the grocery store and we get whatever we want, and there's no seasons, and we don't know how our food got there, or how it was made, or who did what and things. It's just amazing to me that we've gotten to this place as a species that we don't have to worry about the kind of stuff in our modern first world countries. I don't know. There's just something about it that sort of bothers me, that I have to keep explaining what things are like that. And we'll have to probably for my entire career, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But pre-OT, honestly, I hadn't given this stuff that much consideration. And then it's kind of a blessing and a curse when you open Pandora's box and you're like, right, all of this stuff is at risk, and all of this stuff is being attacked, like, all the time. Great.
Yeah. I have a lot of conversations with people that say things like, oh, I'm just this small little rinky-dink company, and wherever, nobody's going to attack me. I said, but yes, you have the same systems as the big players. If one thing gets popped, don't kid yourself for half a second. If they can make some money off of you, they will. So, or just to disrupt because people are jerks.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny. It's funny having those conversations because I think it's so sci-fi. They think what we do is sci-fi. I mean, sure, I guess kind of in some ways it is. I mean, It feels that way some days, but generally speaking, we're not that though. We're not like engineers running on a starship that's like bazillions of miles away. And this is happening here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Here and now, daily, every minute, like there's stuff happening. So yeah.
It's true. It's very true.
Try managing industrial cybersecurity risk with spreadsheets. Yeah, we've been there too. At Anson OT, we're changing the game for OT risk management. No more clunky tools, no more siloed data, just a smarter, faster, and usable way to understand and reduce your risks, whether you're in food production, energy, manufacturing, or anywhere critical infrastructure keeps the world running. Built by folks who've lived the pain, literally conducting OT risk assessments worldwide, Anson OT brings together cybersecurity, safety, environmental, and industry-specific standards in one clear, intuitive platform. We're the first to combine AI-driven insights with scenario-based modeling so you can not only see your current risk, but also be prepared for what could happen next. And with built-in playbooks, you won't be left scrambling when things go sideways. It's everything industrial cybersecurity management should be. Simple, smart, and swift. Learn more at ansonot.com and see why critical infrastructure leaders trust us to help them stay operational, safe, and resilient.
So tell me what you're working on now.
Good question. So despite everything that's happening, and obviously there's the Fed, and despite that, I'm still seeing growth in consulting, in the consultancy realm, particularly on the commercial side, naturally. So I'm working at the moment on lots of kind of senior level consulting positions. So people who can kind of straddle the technical and commercial, they're the sort of skill sets that I'm kind of that are in demand at the moment. But then also, quite strangely, there seems to be a lot of demand for OT leadership talent at an asset owner level. And I can't put my finger on why that is exactly, because if we rewind back 12 months, there was like a distinctive like middle management push out of OT. So there were lots of people, OT managers being let go 12 months ago, and now it feels like the opposite is happening, and there's lots of demand for OT managers. What I have seen in the recent requirements is they're calling them OT IT managers, and I'm like, are they trying to like double up and be like, right, we'll just give this person both of these things, these big different like important parts of our business? And I don't know, maybe that's not the case, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. There's always a demand for OT engineering talent as well, and that's still kind of prevalent, but it's often on site in certain locations. So it's not always going to cater for everyone.
I wonder if the OT leadership asset owner aspect is because roughly 12 months ago is when the SEC public disclosure came into play. So this is just me going down a different path here for a second. And I'm wondering it's because of the reporting and because of the fact that they have to report in for their shareholders in order to be compliant. If that's why they need to hire those roles, because once they were gone from that, they didn't have anybody who could talk that at all or speak to it, especially if they were these big industrial companies. I mean, that was the first thing I thought of when you said it. I was like, it's probably the SEC rule. So
it could be that. It could be that.
Yeah, it's possible. So which sectors do you see coming up more? And I realize you're in Austin, so obviously energy is going to skew, but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I recruit US wise. I do have clients in the local area, particularly in Houston, and some in Austin as well, in energy and oil and gas. The demand has been, it kind of is across the board. I know that's not maybe the best answer, but it really is. Like there's right now, if you jump on a job board and you look for OT skill sets, you'll see manufacturing, you'll see rail, you'll see other parts of transportation, energy, MSPs, consultancies, vendors, the whole shebang. So it really is kind of widespread. But I think where you'll see repeatable roles come up is probably like consultancy, MSP, vendor, and I've kind of aligned myself more in that space than asset owner. I do asset owner, and I do support asset owners. Done some amazing work with some like energy companies, renewable companies, oil and gas, but like companies like Nozomi's and Dragos, they're kind of experiencing pretty significant growth at the moment. So those vendors in the OT ecosystem are good places to look if you are in OT and looking for a new role for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's good to see growth. I think it's good to see growth. Think back like 10 years ago when the market was sort of just stale. Nobody really knew what to do with OT yet. We still were sort of, unless you were in certain situations, obviously. But I think with the way that the current climate is going, I think a lot of the big consulting firms are going to struggle because they're losing some of their federal contracts. So I think that we're going to see smaller niche MSPs and whatnot pop up that I think is going to drive some of this for you too. So it should be really interesting. It's an interesting time to be in OT, let's just say.
It really is.
It really is. And I think it's wild that people actually can get like their college degrees in OTs now, which is, I'm still having trouble with people getting their degree in cybersecurity because I'm like, wait, what? But it's still, it's interesting that now people are walking out with PhDs and, ICS and things like that. And I think it's incredible, but what are you going to do with that? I want to know. I want to know what you're going to do with it. Like what kind of cool research are you going to do that you're going to share with the rest of us so we're going to be even more secure? Like, tell me. I get excited about like geeky things like that. I'm like, I want to know it all. But this is great. I love that you are doing this. I'm glad that we connected when we did, and then we had actually met up at some conferences, and then LobbyCon. Yeah, LobbyCon's great. But awesome. I think that the people that you're placing are just going to enhance the community even more. So, like I said, you're so part of it. And going back to like the food and ag part for a second, the way our community works is very similar to that, and how it's building of trust and it's building of experienced trust and moving through that community aspect in such a way that it's enjoyable. We deal with life-threatening, very serious things every day. But the fact that we all can, have a laugh, have a beer, relax, and, and have a good time, and then share some war stories and have those stories of bloodstained t-shirts and production floor mishaps and craziness, and what we think about things that are going on in the various countries that we all live in and backgrounds, but we come together and all that knowledge is just collected and it just pays forward to everyone in the industry. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we want people to live their modern lives without having to think about it. And I'm glad that you're part of it. And I'm glad that recruiting is niching down too, because that's so special, because you can't just throw bodies at this. It's not going to work. You can do that in IT. That's fine. Back in the day, you really couldn't though, in IT way back in the day. Yeah. It was super specialized. But now, with AI and everything being automated, you probably can throw bodies and it's okay. It's such an interesting and special world. So I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. And I'm glad that we met. I've always had a good time talking to you in general. And we'll have to find some tapas for you. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Some tapas. Please do. No, but thank you. It's been, it's been great. And it's been great. It was great to meet you in person. And it felt like we hit it off straight away. We were talking about a certain pirate and his medical issues. It wasn't the conversation that I thought I was going to be having straight off the bat in Tampa. I feel like most people say that to me, unfortunately. No, but what I think is great is like the fact that we connected right away too, partly because I have an affinity for the UK, as no one's surprised. But we had connections in places we didn't expect, which I love that. I love that the world is so interconnected like that. It's so cool. Yeah. Yeah, it is so cool. And I also love that, you got a chance to meet all the cool people that I enjoy being around and more, and for that matter. Yeah. So I'm really glad that you're here, and I'm glad that we're all on the same mission together. But this has been awesome. And all of your information is going to be in the show notes so everybody can find and reach out to you. And I'm sure you're going to get 1,000 DMs because good luck. But any of your recruiting needs and things like that. And also you're just fun to talk to. So, please reach out. I appreciate that. People don't have to be afraid to talk to recruiters. You're not scary people. You're just human beings at the end of the day. No, absolutely not. And I'd encourage anyone to literally just get in touch, and you don't necessarily have to be immediately looking for work, but sometimes it's good just to get a perspective on what's happening in the market, and I'm more than happy to have that conversation with anyone. And also the people that are kind of newer to the industry and want some advice on like which way to go and routes into OT, like happy to provide advice and steer there outside of what Mike Holcomb shares. Yeah, he's a great source for anyone anyone in OT, full stop. Yeah, well, he's been a guest on this show, so I will definitely relink his episode, because Mike is amazing. He gives so much to the community and asks for nothing back, ever. And he's such a great guy. Anyways, this is awesome. Thank you so much. And happy recruiting. I'm thanks is what I'll say.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Big thanks to Nathaniel for his conversation, and also to all of you for tuning in. If you liked what you heard, do me a favor, please, and like, comment, and share it. You know the drill. It helps people find the show, and it tells the algorithm overlords that this stuff actually does matter, because it really does. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.